afternoon, good people of the internet. Made myself an agua fresca. Came home from work a little early today and thought I have some library books checked out that I need to talk to you about. And they got to go back Friday, so today is Wednesday. So today's the day. I'm out on my patio. It is almost just a little bit too hot to be outside, so the cicadas are cicadaing. I don't know. They scream or whatever that sound is that they make. Agua frescas. If you don't make them, please make them. They're very good. They're delicious. This one is it's watermelon and cantaloupe. My grocery store does not smell. My grocery store is delightful, but it sells the little small containers of sliced up fruit, and sometimes the girl doesn't want to have to deal with a whole watermelon, so I get the little things of fruit, and then I make agua frescas and different things. So, but if you wonder what I've been doing, which is not making art very much lately, like I said in my last video, I started a new job, and I started at one of our local banks. There's only 2 banks in Macon, so I'm working in ag lending. So if ever there was a girl that was a good fit for ag lending, I figured that's me. And I get to work with farmers and ranchers and my kind of people. So I'm really enjoying it. No, I don't sound like I am, but I am. I'm enjoying it. I get to work with one of my really good friends, which, you know, that's a roll of the dice, because a lot of people are really good friends outside of work, but at work it doesn't work. But I think we're going to do well together. It's already seems like it's going pretty good, and I'm having to learn a lot on the fly, but I'm making it. So I'm learning a lot, and if you see me a little glowy and a little sweaty, I'm on my patio, and it's probably about, I think my weather app said it was 88 degrees Fahrenheit, feels like 92. It's just welcome to May in Mississippi. So what I have been doing a good bit lately is going back and researching and looking at books that have inspired me in the past, and then maybe trying to find a few new things. And Allie's been wanting to go to the library a lot lately, and Macon has a teeny tiny library that, believe it or not, is our former jail. As in, the books are in cages. I'll try to put in some pictures. I think I have pictures on my phone. If I don't, I got to go to the library Friday, and I'll take a couple pictures and I will insert them. But yes, our jail it's beautiful on the outside. It's this red brick, kind of a Italianate. It's like an Italian kind of a theme. It has a tile roof. It's beautiful, but it's our former jail. And if you hear somebody chewing on something behind me, it's our puppy. So, and in going to the library the other day, back to the topic at hand, support your local libraries, people, they need you. So I actually found a book by a painter from Mississippi that I had never heard of. And I call myself being fairly well educated on Mississippi artists, because, you know, I went to a Mississippi school and took several sections of art history. I had never heard of this lady, which this was a new one for me, and I've really enjoyed this book. And it's called The Art of Marie Hull, by Malcolm M. Norwood, Virginia Miggy Elias, and William S. Hain. It's like from 75, I want to say. This was a exhibition catalog from a show that she had, like a retrospective show that she had in the 70s of her work at Delta State in Cleveland, Mississippi. If this thing will focus, it doesn't want to focus. Oh, there we go. I had to put it in front of my face. This is one of her earlier paintings, Lady with a Parasol. But Marie Hull was born in Summit, Mississippi in 1890. She lived until 1980. November of 1980. And she was kind of your atypical Mississippi girl, I think maybe from a more affluent family. Nobody in the family were really artists. Her family loved music. Her parents loved music. And they encouraged her to pursue music at a young age. She took piano lessons. She ended up going to, I have notes. Because like I said, I had never heard of this lady. But she ended up, going to Belhaven College in Jackson and getting a degree in music. She taught piano lessons. She got married to an architect that was from Jackson and ended up going to work for him. And she did his architectural renderings for his buildings, and he in turn encouraged her to paint. And studying at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. And she studied in Europe. She traveled to Spain. She traveled to France. She studied at the Louvre, however you want to say it. She traveled all over the United States. She and her husband traveled together. He would look at architecture. She would look at the landscape and paint. And lady lived to 1980. How old was she when she passed away? She was 90 when she passed away. And continued to paint even after moving into the nursing home. She ended up breaking her hip and having to go into a nursing home. And even in the nursing home, she was still continuing to paint. She had a very prolific career. And a lovely lady. There's a picture of her when she was a student. Beautiful lady. It's like the only self-portrait that they know of. There's a picture in here from when she was 85. Just the most lovely grandma lady. She looks like a grandmother. Just a sweet lady. And seems to be, she was well received in the state, but she also exhibitioned in Paris. She was invited to I want to get this right, she had 2 paintings that I think to me kind of launched her career. She had 2 paintings of sharecroppers. And during the Depression, there was not only were we all suffering from a financial crisis, but in 1927, there was a massive flood on the Mississippi River. So a lot of the sharecroppers that lived in the Delta, that farmed, were pushed out of the Delta. They lost their crops, they were flooded out, and a lot of them moved to Jackson and were doing odd jobs. They were doing stuff like sharpening scissors, yard work, that kind of thing. And a couple of the people that worked for her, she asked would they sit for her and let her paint their portrait, because it's the Depression. Not very many people are asking for portrait commissions, and she wanted to continue to practice her craft. So she paid the people that worked for her a little extra. She needed people to sit for her so that she could paint. They were available. They needed the extra money. She paid them to sit, and she made these paintings. And it, people with wonderful faces that had seen just a whole full life. And she painted them in such a wonderful way that you really felt like you were getting like a true representation of these people. And she was the only painter that was invited to show at the Golden Gate Exposition in San Francisco in 1939. And she had another one of her sharecropper paintings that was shown at the World's Fair in New York. So, lovely lady. Just well respected, taught students out of her home. I have absolutely enjoyed looking through this book of her work. There's another book, a newer book, and I can't think of the name right now, but if you Google Marie Hull on Amazon, I think it's called Bright Fields. It's another book by the University of Mississippi Press, which is what this book is by. This book's out of print. Like I said, it's from the 70s, and you can find it online, but it goes from anywhere from $60 to $100. And this is not a thick book. It's hardbound, but it's thin. It's only like 92, 93 pages, so it's not a very big book. it's beautiful. And you just don't find a lot of info about her. There's a couple of websites, a couple of the, like Mississippi Now, that shows a lot of historical information. You can find it on there. I'll try to put links in the show notes to different websites you can go to look at her work. There's a couple of different collections that show her paintings online. One of the collections that I was intrigued that she was a part of is the Maureen O'Hara collection. Where was this at? I read it. Now, I love Maureen O'Hara as an actress, but who knew that there was an art collection? The Maureen O'Hara collection in California. She's also at the Mississippi Arts League in Jackson, the Lauren Rogers Museum in Laurel, Mississippi, and the Wright Art Center at Delta State in Cleveland, Mississippi, and then also the Johnson Collection in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And her paintings were literally in collections all over the country, because when you look at the different paintings in this book, she's in collections, private collections all over the country. And actually, there was a painting that she did that went to France. It was a commissioned piece. So I'll just show a couple of the pieces in here that I really loved. Okay, so this is Lady with a Parasol. It was painted in 1922. It's oil on canvas. This was like a really popular theme at the turn of the century. I would say the teens, maybe through the 30s. You see a lot of paintings of ladies with parasols, but it's absolutely beautiful. I thought it was beautiful. The brushwork on this painting, really a nod toward the Impressionist. Her face is really beautiful. You can feel like you see the light coming through the parasol. Just beautiful work. And she was always experimenting with things. She really had a wonderful use of color. And this is a painting called Annie Smith. She was their maid. And she, the funny thing in this book says that she was their maid when Marie Hull and her husband married in 1917, and she had super strict rules for them. Imagine hiring a maid and she has super strict rules for you, but there was no card playing or listening to the radio on Sundays. It was forbidden. And she just painted this lady with such dignity. She has such a wonderful expression. She's got her kerchief. She's got this just glorious background. But her face, that is a face of a lady that is absolutely not to be messed with. Obeyed at all costs. Just absolutely wonderful. And then you get over to the sharecropper pictures. And I want you, if anybody's ever studied art history, if that doesn't look extremely reminiscent of a Italian Renaissance portrait, and I guess the easiest one to tell people to think about is the Mona Lisa, which has this like really weird, almost fantastical background. If you ever look at the Mona Lisa, everybody looks at just her face. Look at the background of the Mona Lisa. It has the most wild landscape, just this weird landscape behind her. And this gentleman, you've got this wonderful portrait of him, but then you've also got this absolutely stunning landscape back there, and it just kind of all works. You know, you can just imagine this guy's came home from a long day of work. He's sitting on his porch. He's having a nice tall glass of water, maybe an agua fresca. But the painting that really kind of, to me, showed the time period, if you go back and you look at some of the WPA paintings that are in WPA post offices. WPA was the Works Progress Administration. It was one of the make work programs that came out of the Great Depression. And the WPA built they built a ton of post offices. There's a ton of WPA post offices around here. There's one in Macon. There's one in Houston. There's one in Columbus. There's one in Eupora. They're scattered in every state. And in every one of these WPA post offices are these gigantic murals. The one in Macon is terrifying. It's a mural of the signing of the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit between the Americans and the Choctaw Indians. And I will put a link in my show notes so that you can go read about that on my blog. I don't understand who approved this painting. It's really interesting, but it's honestly a little grotesque and a little terrifying. But that to be said, there's a specific way that they painted people in a lot of these WPA paintings, these big murals. And this painting here and then this painting at the bottom, very much reminiscent of that. These were painted in 1938. They're oil on canvas. They're beautiful. I especially love the one of the two gentlemen at the top. But they really show that late 1930s, early 1940s style. It's amazing. The other thing I love about her work is it's so colorful. Her use of color should almost be garish in a way, but it's not. It just works. And she has in her paintings from, I would say, the 20s through the 40s, she has this very impressionist style, very loose, very painterly. You can see how she laid the paint down on the canvas. Her color theory is impeccable. And there's this painting, it's called Fall Landscape. It's from 1924, another oil on canvas. But it's absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. And then down here in the corner, right here, you've got this little pop of green. So it's a fall painting, and it's got all these wonderful fuchsias and oranges and yellows. And if that's not a Mississippi fall sky, I don't know what is. We have these like beautiful kind of slate gray skies in the fall in Mississippi, but there's always going to be little pops of green in the fall because we have things like little cedar bushes and privet hedge, or it's also called Chinese hedge. They stay green year round, so you'll be in the woods and it'll just be a wash of color, yellows and oranges and reds, and then you have little pops of greens with the evergreens that you have in the woods of Mississippi. It's so good. And there were a couple more. Her watercolors I love a good loose watercolor sketch, and her and her husband did a good bit of traveling out through the Southwest, through California, into the Northwest, and while she was out there, she did a ton of watercolor sketches and oil paintings too. But this one is from the Grand Canyon. It's from 1925. I was checking to make sure my puppy hadn't run off. Isn't that beautiful? Very loose. You've got that atmospheric quality in the back where it's kind of smoky and hazy. And you can definitely tell you've got foreground, you've got background, you've got things at a distance receding away from you. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I would die to see one of these in color. I'm going to have to track down some Marie Hull paintings. This is another watercolor, Jackson in Autumn. She was chosen to be one of the artists through the Federal Arts Project. Started in 1933, another WPA project, where they had at its height, they had about 5,000 artists. And they could paint whatever they wanted. I think you just had to submit and tell them what you wanted to do, and you painted it. And she chose to do a lot of the federal state buildings in Jackson, like she did the Capitol, and she did the Governor's Mansion. Puppy. Bonus puppy content. But this is Jackson in Autumn. It's from 1934. It's loose, it's lovely, it's lush. It's everything watercolor painting should be. It's everything watercolor painting should be. And then there were a couple more I was going to show you. When she traveled through Spain and France on that grand European tour that she made, she actually won not an exhibition, she won second. Take that back, she didn't win the whole thing. But there was a Texas wildflowers juried show, and she painted a painting of yucca flowers. And at the time, she said, I really hadn't seen very many people paint that particular subject, and she decided this would be a good thing to paint. And it's a beautiful painting. It's actually in here. And she ended up winning second in this exhibition. This is the painting that she won $2,500. And she took that money and went with a group of about 40 artists, and she did like landscape classes in the morning, and then she did anatomy, like figure classes in the afternoon. And on this trip, they said she painted between 500 or 600 watercolors. And just wherever she was, she would go out, quick sketches. And watercolor sketches, to a lot of oil painters, are just studies. These are the paintings that you bring back and then you flesh out into full paintings. I love her watercolors. You can tell that they're painted very quickly, very loosely, but they're gorgeous. I mean, she's handling the paint like a boss. And if you've ever done any watercolor painting, I love watercolor. That's my favorite. That's my favorite medium. But as she got older, she got into more abstract. She had kind of an intermediary period where you could tell she was still wanting to paint in a more traditional style, but yet kind of step off into this more modern, abstract style of painting. This painting is called Blackbirds. It's from 1945, oil on canvas. I love this for some particular reason. It just seems like it has a beautiful motion to it, muted colors, and then you have those little pops of yellow and fuchsia. But the way that the birds' heads are painted and their bodies are painted, it just moves you around the painting. Just beautiful work, beautiful composition. And then you get into some of her more abstract pieces, and I just think they're gorgeous. Where was the picture I wanted to show y'all? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. This one, this is called Burning Off. It's from 1965. That is beautiful. That does not look like that should be a nearly 60-year-old painting. That looks like something that was painted just recently. Beautiful. Beautiful. That juxtaposition between the darker colors, the lighter colors, and she's mixing these. These are not straight from the tube. These are things that she's mixing on the palette and laying down. This one, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I know that's weird, this one more especially, but I love Chinese and Japanese calligraphy drawings. I think there's just something about 4 brush strokes and you have a bamboo with leaves. I just think that's really cool. This is a Great Tree. It's ink and wash, and she was influenced by Chinese calligraphy. It's just got motion and movement, and that is a painting that is alive. Okay, that's a painting that's alive. It's beautiful. I know I'm being an art nerd right now, but I've needed this. I've done a fair amount of research the last couple of months. This one is called Ruins 2. It's an oil on canvas piece. Just, oh man, that fuchsia is beautiful. You can say what you want to, but it's beautiful. And there was 1 or 2 more I was going to show you. This dog, she's killing me. As a girly from the Kilgore Hills, red clay, red sand, I loved this painting, Mississippi Red Clay. It's from 1972, and she won several awards for these paintings. Just the whole book. There's not a bad image in here. Whoever pulled this together did a great job. But that is the art of Marie Hull. If you can find it in your local library, please check it out. Maybe I can scrounge around on eBay and I can buy myself this as a happy. It's a beautiful book. Absolutely stunning. Pause for the cause. I had to have a little break. It's hot out here, remember? I'm suffering for you, YouTube. The other painter that I wanted to show you, this is also from my local library, is Wyatt Waters. Wyatt Waters is still here with us. I hope is with us for decades to come. He is another Mississippi watercolorist. He's from Clinton, which is in the Jackson area, and a wonderful guy. He's been to Columbus. He's painted quite a bit here, and I'm watching the dog. But he paints a good bit on location. I think the majority of what he paints is on location. And if you ever watch any videos on, say, like YouTube or on public television about Wyatt Waters, he paints with a big fat brush. And he paints the most juicy, luscious watercolors. And my watercolor painting professor from college, Brent Vanderberg, they very much remind me one another. They remind me of each other. Brent is all about a juicy watercolor painting, and Wyatt does this extremely well. The other thing I love about Wyatt Waters is he's really good friends with Robert St. John, who I also like. He is a chef and restaurateur from Mississippi, and he's opened some amazing restaurants and also wrote some amazing cookbooks. And I was lucky enough to grab this book. My husband actually bought this for me, and it's called Mississippi Palette, Robert St. John and Wyatt Waters. Robert St. John, of course, with the recipes, Wyatt Waters with the paintings. And so I get a 2-for-1 special. I get a lovely art book along with some really fantastic recipes. I apologize for my dogs barking. I don't know what's wrong with them, but I mean, it's just, this is from Oxford. This is Square Books at Oxford. If you've ever been to Oxford, it's just such a good book. But Wyatt he is a master, man, and there's a couple of paintings of his. Of course, he's on Facebook. He posts a good bit. Wyatt stuff is easy to access. It's not hard to find at all. But there was one of these in here that I love because it's a shoe shine place that I grew up going to in Starkville. And I was so tickled to see it in this book. There's the Princess Theater in Columbus. Oh, it's so good. Wyatt's paintings are or Mr. Waters, however he would like to be addressed. They are just luscious and wonderful. And then this is Evans Shine Parlor in Starkville. This place is closed. The local historical society there, the museum in Starkville, has that sign. That I can remember going there as a kid. And this sign it still exists, but this sign was gigantic. You could not miss it. He was so good too. He was such a nice guy. Older African-American gentleman that owned the store. He was so sweet. He took care of my boots when I was growing up. This is called Marinated Beef, which I thought was a hysterical title. I can't see if I'm on the thing or not, but yeah, Marinated Beef. Just his titles of his paintings are always fantastic. And I'll show you one or two more, maybe one more. Oh, I do love this. So there was a brothel, like a real live brothel in Natchez, Mississippi. And the lady that owned it was called Nellie Walker, and it was open until 1990. So it's not like, this was from, the old Wild West days. Up until 1990, Nellie Walker ran a brothel in Natchez. You can get anything in Natchez. But this is her house. This is Nellie Walker's house in Natchez. I've been by there. He has the absolutely most gorgeous paintings. So if you can go online, look at some Wyatt Waters work. If you can find a book, I suggest you take it outside in natural light. and look at it, because he paints all of these paintings plein air and outside. I don't know if Wyatt ever really paints much in the studio, but just the most beautiful work. And if you like this sort of thing, I've got a couple of other artists I can share with you. Some of them from Mississippi, some of them from Alabama. The painting I just showed you is called 3rd of June, and it's from 1997. It's from New Albany, which is in North Mississippi. So a couple of good books. I have done quite a bit of research the past couple of months, you know, at night, instead of watching TV. I'm bumping my phone. I read books and look at pictures and plot and plan, and I have things I want to do this summer. We've got the kiddo on summer break, and there's time in the afternoon to do things, so I'm going to try to take the best advantage of that. So I hope you enjoyed that. This is a stunning book, and like I said, I had never heard of Marie Hull, didn't know anything about her, so I really enjoyed this. I went down the rabbit hole on Marie Hull the last couple of weeks, and just makes me want to paint everything, and maybe I'll get some painting done this summer, but just wanted to share those with you. So hope that inspires you, and please do go look up Wyatt Waters. I'll post his website in the notes for the video, but until next time, talk to you soon.